You are an immigrant business person in Canada, so how can you gain better business traction in Canada? Click here the subscribe button, set up the alert, and if the content of this specific video is useful for you, let us know by clicking the like button. So let's assume a situation here. We are assuming that you already have some good progress in Canada so far. For example, you may have already established a presence. What does that mean? Maybe you already incorporated a business, maybe you already participated or are finishing or in the middle of an incubation or acceleration program. And let's say you already have a key person in Canada doing business here for you. But then you think there are a few things that could be going better. So what kind of things typically we hear that people say, yeah, I'm already here, but things could be doing better? Typically the first thing we hear is, well, timing is too slow. Things are not progressing as quickly as I wanted. Canadians are too slow to make a decision or to advance the conversations. The second thing we hear often is, I don't see a lot of interest in engagement. You know, I had the meetings, but then they didn't follow through. They didn't answer my emails. I don't see here an evidence that they're really eager to buy from my business. Or, yeah, everything seems fine. Every time we meet, it's great. They say great things about my product, my service. They say they wish me all the best. They say everything's going to work fine. But in the end of the day, there's no commitment to purchase. There's no commitment to actually do business with my company. Or people are too cautious. They don't want to make a full commitment. They want to do just a very small test. And then as we're talking about these, there are new objections that are arising all the time. So any of these four factors that we have listed here, they typically are company experiences, a company that is being run by a foreign-born business person in Canada, an immigrant business person in Canada. Okay? So why these things happen? Let's look at why they happen so we can understand the solution. What I'm going to follow here in my rationale, each of the four items I spoke before, I'm gonna break them in three parts. The first part is why it happens. The second part is how you should not deal with it, so mistakes to avoid. And then finally, suggestions about what actually might help you, okay? So let's look at timing, for example. Okay, things are too slow. So what is really going on here, why this happens, is because Canadians are cautious in their decision making. Because when they make a decision, they stick with it. And in that decision, they tend to take several different angles into consideration. They are not quick at making decisions because they don't like to change their decision later. Very rarely a Canadian is going to say, yeah, sure, let's buy. Oh no, now I gave up. No, when they finally push the button or sign the paper, they're going to stick with you. You're going to have that client for a decent amount of time. So this cautious decision making that takes several angles into consideration is the main reason perhaps why things take longer. What's the way that you should not deal with it? Don't try to create pressure or to offer a deal. It's not about price, even though they may be telling you, well, I don't know, I don't think we have a budget right now. Don't say, oh yeah, no problem, I can cut my price in 30% in the hopes that they're gonna start to do business with you. In other words, don't try to convince them. Don't try to create an artificial sense of urgency necessarily, because that typically does not work too well with Canadians, okay? People don't like to be pushed around. They like to build relationships. They like to do a transaction because they trust. It's never about being an opportunistic transaction. It's usually about, is this gonna be good for me, for my business to make this purchase? Not now in this transaction, but in all the dimensions I'm considering. So what is the way to deal with this delayed timing then? It's simple, the idea, not so easy to implement, but you need to learn what is really the roadblock that is causing them to delay their decision or the rhythm of their conversations with you. And you need to work to remove these roadblocks. For example, maybe that they like you, they like the product, but they're not sure that your company has the infrastructure to deliver. Maybe they asked you for 5 other things in addition to the product that you didn't think were too important and you didn't provide, but they don't want to go back to you and say, well, but you didn't give me the other things. So they're going to say, well, I'm too busy, or we don't have the budget. This thing about being too busy, not a good time, or not having the budget typically are socially acceptable excuses for some other reason that they don't really want to tell you. So if you are really open to the feedback and if you're interested to learn, actually Canadians are going to tell you what is the true reason why they're delaying their decision. And you should be curious about that. You should be open to receive the feedback because they're going to tell you. Okay, let's go to the second and third item. Let's look at both together. Low interest or low commitment. This happens because they don't see a direct benefit from what you're selling. They say, well, this looks great, but I don't really need to do this. I can keep doing what I'm doing. Or they see some dimensions that they communicated to you as being important to them that you did not address. So they're like, yeah, well, I'm not sure I want to deal with these guys because I told them these other things were important and they just ignored it. So again, what's the way that it does not work? It's like going into convincing mode. It's similar to what we discussed before, or trying to sweeten the deal. Oh no, let me make sure I offer him something else here to kind of cause him to make this decision. Again, if they don't see a benefit and there are dimensions you didn't address, trying to force things despite there's no direct benefit or there are dimensions unaddressed here, it's gonna seem that you're being pushy, and people don't like to be pushed. So what is the way to deal with it then? The way to deal with it, again, is very similar to the previous one. Learn what is really the roadblock and work to remove it. You see, if things are being too slow, or they're being tentative, being uncertain, actually these are all the same things. They're not convinced yet. They don't want you to be pounding rash reasons. You need to listen to them. You need to actually ask them for feedback. Say, listen, I understand that. I just want to know because I'm learning, we're new in the country, and thank you for your time and your relationship that you're developing here with us. But be honest with me, like what's going on? What should I know in my next attempt to make a sale to somebody else? Like tell me here what I don't see here. Like what can I learn from this situation? And really take notes. And you know what? Just the fact that you show that you're willing to learn, sometimes they're gonna say, well, I think now you got it, now you understand. So you know what? Go and do this little homework, this quick homework, and come back in a month. I think in a month I can introduce you to other people inside. So the fact that you're showing that you're open to learn and you are taking corrective action, that may revive something that was closed, some doors that probably was locked. And again, if somebody doesn't want to buy a lot from you first, they just want to do a test, they're raising objections, that is actually a good thing. That's not a bad thing. That just means they're cautious, but it means they're still interested. So they're interested, but they're cautious. They want to see if they can trust you. So they want to start small and slow, right? So the way you do not deal with this type of situation is to keep insisting on the larger commitment. Say, oh, but come on, only do this thing, only buy this amount. Come on, do you see the opportunity here? Buy more, it's going to be better for you. They don't want to hear that. They don't want you to gloss over their objections either. Say, yeah, but this is not going to be a problem. Believe me, it was never a problem with people that bought this from me before. No, people want to see that you are willing to learn, to receive the feedback, and to incorporate the feedback. People want to see that you are getting the message, that you are in the same wavelength as they are. This is really how you accelerate this traction in Canada, is by listening, incorporating the feedback, and communicating back that you did the homework. And in other words, it's by changing yourself. Okay, there are two related videos here that I think it's a good idea that you watch them as well. Okay, good luck.